Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. What I'm about to reveal today is heartbreaking, and it involves the youngest Wales child who everyone adores, 7-year-old Prince Louis. While the world watches Prince George prepare for his destiny as king, and while Princess Charlotte undergoes intensive royal training with Princess Anne for her future as Princess Royal, multiple royal experts are now confirming that Prince Louis may have no meaningful role in the royal family's future. In fact, one expert bluntly stated, "I'm not so sure about Louis," when discussing royal roles. We're talking about a 7-year-old child whose future is already being decided for him, pushed toward military service like Prince Andrew and Prince Harry, not exactly stellar role models, potentially excluded from working royal duties, and facing the exact same spare crisis that destroyed Harry's life and drove him to California. Royal author Robert Jobson dropped this bombshell. There really isn't very much need to have more than an heir and a spare. Translation: George is the heir, Charlotte is the spare, and Louis is extra, surplus to requirements, the third child nobody asked for. William and Kate are reportedly very concerned that Louis will feel like a spare, but are they doing enough to prevent it? Or are we watching Prince Harry 2.0 unfold in real time? Let's dive into the brutal truth about Prince Louis's uncertain future and whether this 7-year-old can be saved from the spare curse. I'm not so sure about Louis, the expert verdict. The devastating quote. Let's start with the quote that started this entire conversation. Royal expert Katie Nicholl was speaking to OK magazine about the future of the Wales children when she dropped this bombshell. "I'm told that Charlotte's future role will be to support George when he becomes king. So far, so good. Charlotte has a clear path, Princess Royal, supporting the monarch, meaningful work." But then Nicholl added, "I'm not so sure about Louis." 5 words. I'm not so sure about Louis. Think about what that means. A royal expert with insider palace sources is publicly stating that a 7-year-old child's future is uncertain, undefined, unclear. Robert Jobson's brutal assessment. But Katie Nicholl wasn't the only expert raising concerns about Louis. Royal author Robert Jobson gave an even more direct assessment on the Telegraph's The Daily Tea podcast. "I think Charlotte will probably be a working royal," Jobson told Telegraph editor Camilla Tominey. "I don't know if Louis will." When pressed about Louis's future, Jobson added, "There really isn't very much need to have more than an heir and a spare." Let that sink in. There really isn't very much need. Jobson continued, "I think that he'd probably want a life rather than just be a character." When Tominey responded with, "What about poor Louis? He seems like a right character," Jobson acknowledged that journalists will surely have fun covering him as he gets older, but then suggested Louis would probably want a life beyond being entertainment for the media. The Charlotte comparison, here's where the disparity becomes even more stark. Jobson explained why Charlotte's future is secure while Louis's isn't. Because of her place in the family, with the end of male primogeniture, Charlotte, her role is there. It's very clear. She will have a role above Louis. Thanks to the 2011 Succession to the Crown Act, Princess Charlotte holds her place in the line of succession despite having a younger brother. Before this law change, Louis would have jumped ahead of Charlotte just for being male. But now, Charlotte is third in line, Louis is fourth, and according to Jobson, she will have a role above Louis. This creates a situation where Charlotte, younger than George but older than Louis, has a clearly defined, important royal future, while Louis, as the youngest, has... what exactly? The Zara Tindall model. Jobson did offer one potential path for Louis, following the example of Princess Anne's children, Zara Tindall and Peter Phillips. Zara and Peter are great living examples of how family members can hold jobs, be very successful, and have fulfilling lives without being working royals, Jobson noted. This sounds positive on the surface. Zara Tindall is a successful equestrian athlete and businesswoman. Peter Phillips has had a successful career in sports management. They're happy, well-adjusted, and living largely normal lives. But here's the catch. Zara and Peter were never given HRH titles. They were never raised with the expectation of being working royals. Their mother, Princess Anne, deliberately chose not to give them royal titles so they could have normal lives. Louis, on the other hand, is Prince Louis. He does have an HRH title. He's been raised in the spotlight since birth. He attends royal events, lives in a royal residence, and is third in line to the throne after his sister, telling him, "Sorry, but you won't actually have a royal role despite being a prince," seems cruel and confusing for a child. The military path, following Harry and Andrew's footsteps. He'll likely end up in the military. Multiple royal experts have suggested the same path for Prince Louis, military service. Robert Jobson stated directly that Louis will likely end up in the military, specifically mentioning Prince Harry and Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor as precedents. Think about what this comparison implies. Harry and Andrew, two disgraced royals, one living in self-imposed exile in California, the other stripped of all titles following his Epstein scandal. These are the role models being suggested for 7-year-old Louis. Royal expert Jenny Bond told The Mirror, "I imagine they will encourage Louis to explore life outside the royal fold. It could be the military, but it could also be working in the charity world or whatever he finds appealing after his education is finished." The royal military tradition. To be fair, military service is a long-standing royal tradition. King Charles served in the Royal Air Force and Royal Navy from 1971-1976. Prince William attended Royal Military Academy Sandhurst and served with the Blues and Royals before becoming a search and rescue helicopter pilot. Prince Harry served in Afghanistan twice. Royal commentator Carmen Sandy explained to Express, "Prince William joined the army, Prince Charles joined the Navy, and Prince Harry served in the Air Force. Men in the royal family aren't just encouraged to join the military, it's expected of them." She added, "If you're sensing a theme, you'd be absolutely right. Men in the royal family aren't just encouraged to join the military, it's expected of them." According to royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, even Prince George will undoubtedly see service in the military before fully assuming his role as future king. Why military magchant problem for Louis? So what's the problem with Louis following this military path? Several things. First, it's often a dead end. For royals who aren't going to be monarch, military service often becomes their only real job. But then what? After their service ends, usually in their 30s or 40s, they're left without a clear purpose. Second, the Harry precedent. Harry's military service was actually the happiest, most fulfilling period of his royal life. He felt useful, purposeful, and valued for his actual contributions rather than just his birth. When that ended and he was back to being a spare doing ribbon cuttings, he fell into depression and eventually fled the country. Third, the Andrew example. Prince Andrew served in the Falklands War and had a distinguished military career. But after his service ended, he became the playboy prince with too much time and too little purpose, which eventually led to his association with Jeffrey Epstein and his current disgrace. Fourth, it's not actually a career. Modern military service for royals is often more symbolic than substantive. They serve, they gain experience, but they're never deployed in genuinely dangerous roles, for security reasons, and their military career is really just a phase before returning to royal duties. For Louis, who might not have royal duties to return to, what then? The sexist double standard. Here's something that really bothers me about this whole narrative. Why is military service being pushed specifically for Louis and George, both boys, while Charlotte gets royal training from Princess Anne? Multiple commentators have noted this double standard. If Charlotte wanted to serve in the military, she absolutely could. British women serve with distinction in all branches of the armed forces, but nobody's suggesting Charlotte should end up in the military like they are for Louis. For Charlotte, it's princess royal training and meaningful royal work. For Louis, it's military service and then uncertainty. One royal expert writing for Yahoo Entertainment pointed out the sexism. If he wanted to, Prince Louis could be a fantastic senior working member of the royal family, and if she wanted to, Princess Charlotte could be a bad A member of the British military, right? When discussing the monarchy, an institution that works double time to perpetuate the patriarchy, sexist predictions like this just rubs me the wrong way, they continued. William and Kate's concern. According to sources, William and Kate are acutely aware of this problem and are very concerned about it. A source told Marie Claire, "They're very concerned that George and Charlotte will have a role in the monarchy, but that Louis might feel like a spare." The insider continued, "They want to make sure all three children feel valued and have purpose, but the reality of the monarchy's structure makes that extremely difficult. This is the curse of being born third. You're royal enough to face all the restrictions and scrutiny, but not important enough to have a guaranteed, meaningful role. Charlotte's special treatment, the unfair comparison. Why Charlotte is different. Let's be absolutely clear about something. Princess Charlotte's future is secure in ways that Louis's isn't, and this disparity is creating a situation that could breed resentment as the children grow older. Robert Jobson explained, "Because of her place in the family, with the end of male primogeniture, Charlotte, her role is there. It's very clear. Charlotte will almost certainly become Princess Royal when William is king, after Princess Anne passes. This gives her a prestigious title that commands respect, a clearly defined role within the monarchy, meaningful work and patronages to focus on independence and authority, a sense of purpose and value. Royal expert predictions suggest Charlotte will take on patronages related to sports and dance, following in her parents' and late grandmother Princess Diana's footsteps. The training disparity. We've covered in previous videos how Princess Charlotte is receiving intensive royal training from Princess Anne, learning how to hold a room's attention quietly, how to navigate complex social situations, how to represent the crown with dignity and grace. This training started when Charlotte was very young and continues now as she approaches her teenage years. But what about Louis? Where's his special training? Where's his mentor preparing him for a meaningful role? The silence is deafening. The public treatment. There's also a noticeable difference in how the palace and media treat the two younger Wales children. Charlotte, praised for her natural ease with fans, highlighted for her quiet confidence, positioned as a future working royal, given increasingly prominent roles at events, treated as essential to the monarchy's future. Louis, known for his cheeky antics and funny faces, positioned as comic relief, uncertain future role, still kept mostly out of the public eye, treated as, well, extra. At just 7 years old, Louis is already being typecast as the character rather than a serious royal in training, the sibling dynamic. Multiple experts have commented on the sibling dynamic and how this disparity could affect the children's relationships. Global parenting expert Joe Frost told, "Hello, I think William and Catherine understand the importance of nurturing the sibling relationships between the three of them. Dare I say it, in their family, it would never be the heir and spare. It would be about the importance of all of them, the understanding that it really takes a team, with the important roles in upholding the crown and the monarchy. That's a lovely sentiment, but is it realistic? The reality is that George is being prepared as the heir, Charlotte is being prepared as an important working royal, and Louis isn't being prepared for anything specific. Actions speak louder than words, and the actions suggest Louis is being left behind. The Harry parallel. Will history repeat? They may end up like him." Prince Harry himself has expressed concern about Charlotte and Louis potentially facing the same struggles he did. In his memoir Spare, Harry detailed his experience of being the second born after an heir. The loneliness, the lack of purpose, the feeling of being simultaneously essential, as backup, and useless once the heir has children of their own. According to sources, Harry has said he fears Charlotte and Louis may end up like him, trapped in a system that needs them to exist but doesn't actually value their contributions. Royal expert Jenny Bond told the Mirror that William and Kate are acutely aware of this risk. They are acutely aware of the challenges it may pose, particularly in the wake of Prince Harry's autobiography Spare, where he detailed his experience of being the second born after an heir. The pattern of third-born royals. Let's look at the track record of royals born in Louis's position. Third child, second spare. Princess Margaret, Queen Elizabeth's sister, struggled with her role throughout her life, turned to alcohol and had scandalous relationships, battled depression, felt trapped and purposeless. Prince Andrew, King Charles's brother. Initially the Queen's favourite military service, then became Playboy Prince associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Currently disgraced, stripped of titles, effectively exiled Prince Harry, Prince William's brother. Felt like a spare part his entire life. Found purpose in military, but lost it when service ended. Struggled with mental health, addiction issues. Eventually left the royal family entirely. The pattern is clear and terrifying. Third-born royals rarely find happiness or fulfillment within the royal system. William's determination to prevent this. According to sources, William is determined not to repeat his father's mistakes with the heir and spare dynamic that damaged his relationship with Harry. Royal expert Jenny Bond explained, "They have already shown that they have a different and modern attitude to bringing up royal children, and I'm sure they will do everything to make Charlotte and Louis feel every bit as special, loved and valued as George." Bond added that William and Kate's parenting approach, trying to give their kids as normal a life as possible, will hopefully leave Charlotte and Louis knowing that working as a royal isn't their only option. "I imagine they will encourage Louis to explore life outside the royal fold," Bond said. "But here's the problem. Encouraging Louis to find purpose outside the royal fold only works if he's actually allowed to live outside the royal fold. Can Louis really build a normal life and normal career when he's a prince, when paparazzi follow him, when security concerns limit his freedom, when every job interview or business venture will be scrutinized as potential exploitation of his royal connection?" The modern spare dilemma. The challenge facing Louis is even more complex than what Harry faced because the world has changed. Social media. Louis will grow up with his every move documented online. He can't escape scrutiny the way previous generations could. Slimmed down monarchy. William's plans for a streamlined royal family mean even less room for spare royals to carve out meaningful roles. Commercial exploitation. If Louis tries to build a business or career, he'll face the same accusations Harry did, that he's trading on his royal connection. Security issues. Louis will always need security, which makes truly normal life impossible and creates diplomatic political complications. How do you navigate all of that while also finding purpose and fulfillment? It's an almost impossible task. What William and Kate are actually doing. The modern parenting approach. William and Kate are consistently praised for their modern approach to parenting, but what does that actually mean for Louis? According to a former senior aide who spoke to The Eye, William and Catherine are modern parents. They may have their thoughts, but I think they'll wait to see what the children want to do. The source added that the possibility of Charlotte and Louis building careers outside the monarchy has not been ruled out. This sounds progressive and child-centred, but is wait and see really a strategy? Or is it just kicking the can down the road? The different treatment of Louis. Interestingly, there's evidence that William and Kate already treat Louis differently than they did George at the same age. Fashion observers have noted that Louis was allowed to wear long pants at a younger age than George was. This might seem trivial, but royal clothing choices are actually significant. They represent how formal and royal the child is expected to be. The fact that Kate and William let go of the reins when it comes to young Louis, particularly with regards to the little prince's wardrobe, suggests they're already treating him as less bound by strict royal protocol than George. Is this kindness, giving Louis more freedom, or is it evidence that he's being taken less seriously as a royal? The balancing act. William and Kate face an impossible balancing act with their 3 children. With George, they must prepare him for the most demanding job in Britain without crushing his childhood or making him resent his future. With Charlotte, they must give her enough training and responsibility to prepare her for Princess Royal, while not making her feel like she's just George's support system. With Louis, they must help him find purpose and value without making him feel like a spare OR, setting him up for disappointment if royal roles aren't actually available for him. How do you do all 3 successfully, especially when the inherent structure of monarchy creates built-in inequality between the children? What experts recommend? Royal experts have offered various suggestions for how William and Kate should handle Louis's situation. University education. Ensure Louis gets a full university education and the chance to explore different career paths and interests. Charity work. Encourage involvement in charitable causes from a young age so Louis sees service and helping others as rewarding regardless of official royal status. Honest conversations. Be transparent with Louis from an early age about what his role will and won't be, rather than letting him develop expectations that can't be fulfilled. Skills. Development. Help Louis develop actual marketable skills beyond just being royal, so he has options for meaningful work. Therapy, support. provide professional support to help Louis navigate the unique challenges of his position before problems develop. These all sound sensible, but are William and Kate actually implementing them? We don't know, because palace life is private. Can Louis be saved from the spare curse? The slimmed-down monarchy problem. Here's the brutal reality. Prince William is planning a dramatically slimmed-down monarchy when he becomes king. Sources say the number of working royals will fall to around 5 or 6 people. This creates a mathematical problem for Louis. The core working royals will likely be King William, Queen Catherine, Prince George when older, Princess Charlotte when older, possibly 1 or 2 others, Anne if still alive, Edward and Sophie. Where does Louis fit in this structure? He doesn't. The slimmed-down model William envisions literally has no room for Louis as a working royal. William won't have cousins helping him like the Queen Elizabeth did, so he'll have to work smarter, one royal source told The Eye. This means shorter campaigns, collaborative charity initiatives, and fewer patronages spread across fewer people, not an expansion that would include Louis. The National Service wildcard. There is one interesting development that could affect Louis's future: the UK Conservative Party's National Service proposal. If passed, this would require all 18-year-olds, including royals, to either spend a year in military service or volunteer 1 weekend per month for 12 months with organisations like the NHS, Fire Service or Search and Rescue. No royal children will be exempt, BBC confirmed. This would apply to George, Charlotte, Louis and even Princess Beatrice and Eugenie's children. This could actually be good for Louis. It would normalise his military or volunteer service as something all young people do, not just spare royals being shunted into the military because there's nothing else for them. Realistic scenarios for Louis's future. Let's honestly assess what Louis's future might look like. Best case scenario: university education at a top school, brief military service, normalised by national service requirement, develops expertise in a specific area, conservation, sports, technology, whatever interests him, works in that field privately while occasionally supporting William at major events, finds fulfilment in his work and personal life, maintains good relationships with siblings, feels valued for his contributions rather than bitter about his position. Worst case scenario: expected to be royal but given no meaningful role. Military service followed by aimless working royal duties, feels useless and trapped like Harry did, resents George and Charlotte for having clear paths, struggles with mental health, substance abuse, or rebellious behaviour, eventually has a public breakdown or exits royal life entirely, relationship with family destroyed. Most likely scenario: some combination of the above, muddles through with some military service and some private work, occasional royal appearances but not a full-time working royal, lives somewhat uncomfortably between two worlds, not fully royal, not fully private. Generally okay, but always wondering, what if, what needs to happen? Now, if William and Kate genuinely want to save Louis from the spare curse, they need to take action now, while he's still young enough that his expectations can be shaped appropriately. They should be honest with Louis about what his role will and won't be, help him develop interests and skills outside royal duties, normalise the idea that he'll have a regular career, provide therapy, support to process the challenges of his unique position, ensure he feels valued for who he is, not what title he holds, foster strong sibling bonds so Charlotte and George don't leave him behind, give him enough royal exposure that he understands the institution, but not so much that he expects to be central to it. They should not pretend everything will work out without active planning, push Louis into military service just because it's tradition, allow resentment to build between the siblings, let Louis develop unrealistic expectations about his royal role, treat him as less than his siblings, wait until he's a teenager to address these issues. The window for intervention is now. By the time Louis is 13 or 14, patterns will be set and expectations formed. William and Kate need to act decisively if they want a different outcome than what happened with Harry. Conclusion: a 7-year-old's predetermined fate. What we've learned as we step back and look at everything we've discussed today, what emerges is a troubling picture of a 7-year-old child whose future is being decided by forces beyond his control. Prince Louis is, being pushed toward military service like Harry and Andrew, not reassuring precedents, facing an uncertain future with no clear royal role, living in the shadow of Charlotte's princess royal training and George's king-in-training status, already being typecast as the character rather than a serious royal, at risk of feeling like a spare, despite William and Kate's concerns, potentially headed for the same fate as Princess Margaret, Prince Andrew or Prince Harry. But Louis is also only 7 years old, with time for things to change. Blessed with parents who are aware of the spare problem and want to prevent it. Living in a different era with more flexibility about royal roles, potentially able to have a fulfilling private career if properly supported, loved by the public, who adore his cheeky personality, the ultimate questions. Is Prince Louis being erased from the royal future? The evidence suggests yes, or at least he's being quietly shuffled to the sidelines while his older siblings take centre stage. But is this erasure inevitable? Or can William and Kate find a way to give Louis purpose, value and fulfillment, despite the monarchy's inherent hierarchy? Can the spare curse be broken, or are Charlotte and Louis doomed to repeat history, with Charlotte possibly thriving, like Princess Anne, and Louis potentially struggling, like Prince Harry? The uncomfortable truth, here's the reality nobody wants to say out loud: the monarchy structurally creates spare children whose existence is necessary as backup, but whose contributions aren't actually valued once the heir is secure. George will be king, that's definite. Charlotte will likely be Princess Royal, that's probable. But Louis is the one nobody's quite sure what to do with. Royal expert Robert Jobson said it plainly. There really isn't very much need to have more than an heir and a spare. In that formulation, Louis isn't even a spare. He's a spare to the spare. He's extra, surplus to requirements, and that's a devastating position for any child, let alone one who's only 7 years old. What 2026 holds. As we move through 2026, Louis will turn 8 in April. He's still young, still forming his identity, still figuring out who he is beyond just being Prince George's little brother. The decisions William and Kate make now about Louis's education, training and future will shape the rest of his life. The question is, are they making those decisions thoughtfully and proactively, or are they hoping the problem will somehow solve itself? Final thoughts. Is Prince Louis being erased from the royal future? Perhaps erased is too strong, but he's certainly being sidelined, overlooked, and treated as less essential than his siblings. At 7 years old, he deserves better. He deserves to know he has value beyond being royal. He deserves to have his own identity, his own purpose, his own path, whether that's within the royal family or outside it. But most of all, he deserves not to repeat Prince Harry's painful journey of feeling like a spare part in a system that needed him to exist, but didn't actually want him to matter. William and Kate have the chance to break this cycle. The question is, will they? Your thoughts. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Prince Louis is being treated unfairly compared to his siblings? Is military service the right path for him, or just a default option? Can William and Kate prevent Louis from feeling like a spare? Should Louis be given a clear royal role, or is it kinder to let him have a private life? What would you do if you were William and Kate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis valuable and heartbreaking, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. This is one of the most important and overlooked stories in the royal family right now, and Louis deserves people paying attention to his situation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.